Hello and welcome to Nithrania YouTube channel. My name is Branislav Berec, and in this video I'm going to go through my top 50 most favorite games of all time. The video many of you have asked for, and the video I did not publish yet on the English channel. We did top 25 games of all time in Slovak language in November, last November or early December, together with my gaming group. So there were 4 of us going through our top 25 games. We had very different games in our lists, which was great. However, my friends don't really feel confident enough to talk about those games in English language, so here I am alone. Anyway, this is my top 50 games of all time. A few days ago I did my top 25 of 2020, which was very long. I took like 90 minutes to do that video. So in order not to spend 3 hours on this list, I learned my lesson, and I will go through those games a lot faster. And I will keep doing my top 25 of the previous year in March, because that's the time when I feel I would have finally played all the games that I wanted from the previous year. Although not all of them, because I did my list of top 25 of 2020, and I've just received Whistle Mountain, one of the games which I wanted to play but didn't have a chance. It's now here, but it's not going to be in the list. Maybe I will just say my opinion after playing in some of the reviews. Anyway, my top 50 lists will be published in November. That's the time frame, end of November, early December, when we will do our top 25 or maybe top 50 in Slovak language, and also I do the same list in English language. So because I didn't do any lists in English language on this channel yet, I'm doing it now. This is essentially top 50 games of all time as of 2020, plus some new additions which I have added to the list in the last few weeks, because I played fantastic games. I talked about those in my top 25 of 2020, and they will also be over here in this list. And without any further ado, let's get started with my top 50 games of all time. So, my number 50 is Century Spice Road, which is essentially an abstract game where players have 4 types of spice, but these are just 4 cubes of 4 different colors, and players play cards. They can buy the cards and play the cards to gain more cubes and to exchange the cubes for the cubes of a different color. And the goal is to collect the cubes of a specific color and of a specific amount, so that players can buy the goal cards with these cubes. They have to pay these cubes and get the goal card, which is worth a certain amount of victory points. Very simple, lots of depth, lots of ways how to combine these cards and how to run this engine, because it's an engine building. It's about how you get this engine running as fast as possible to gain those cards which are in the display as the goal cards. And once any player scores the 5th or 6th card, the game will be over. So it's a race. You have to have this engine running. Simple rules, just 1 sheet of paper as the rules. Not more than that. Fantastic. I can teach this anyone. I play this game, mostly 2-player game, maybe 50 times, and I still enjoy it. So Century Spice Road is the first one of the trilogy, of this Century trilogy. Century Spice Road, my number 50. Number 49 is a pure dexterity game and pure fun, Tumbling Dice. We love this game so much. Every gaming session recently, almost every gaming session ends up with 1 or 2 games of Tumbling Dice. It's a fast 5-minute, 7 minutes game with 3 or 4 players. You just roll dice on the game board, on the wooden board, and the further you roll the die, the higher the multiplier of the face that you roll on a die, and the multiplier, the face value multiplied by that multiplier is the victory points you score. And you do 4 rounds. You can knock off other players' dice. Other players can knock off your dice. You can knock off your own dice. Just pure fun. Dexterity, fun. We had this game in one of the small gatherings before Corona, where we spent 3 days together. Tumbling Dice was maybe the most played game. It's just so much fun. So that's 49. 48, Acquire. This is probably the oldest game on my list. It's I think from 60s, 1960s. I like the way how the game plays. There's a little bit of randomness of what tiles you draw from the bag, but the way how those companies develop on this grid, I think it's 10 times 10 board, and we place those tiles and try to create adjacent company, how do you call it, adjacent shapes, and larger shapes, larger companies can buy the smaller companies, and it's about the shares of which companies we have to buy to maximize our earnings. Again, very simple rules, very simple with so much depth. Some people don't like it as much as I do, but I really love it. And we can use poker chips with very high values, which we don't use very often because those values are in thousands and tens of thousands at the end of the game. So I think I love the components equally as the game itself. So 48, Acquire. 47 is the game which is also pretty old, maybe 20 years old, and it was the game which was #1 on Board Game Geek for quite some time, Puerto Rico. This is pure strategy, no luck game, which I have played many times. It wasn't a favorite game for my gaming group because this is really a game which rewards repeated play and strategic planning, and there's no luck at all. Everything can be thought out in advance. I love the game a lot. I didn't play it as much as I wanted afterwards because there were many other games coming with a little bit of luck and variability. In Puerto Rico, it's just pure strategy. So the player who knows the game better, who can plan better, usually wins the game frequently. So it wasn't as popular with my gaming group, but I love the game. Fantastic concept, which was then repeated by other games which I have over here. Puerto Rico, my 47. 46 is another old game from the similar from the similar time as Puerto Rico, and it's Laver. It's 46, number 46 for a 2 and a 3 player game. I don't enjoy 4, let alone 5 player game of this game, but 3 player game is my sweet spot, and probably not just my sweet spot. Beautiful, great engine building. Again, it's very simple worker placement. I think you have just one worker. The way how to play this game, there's so many turns that I have in this game over the course of the game. Many turns. I love this kind of concept. Again, simple rules, the way how to gather all those resources, how to combine those resources to buy buildings, to score victory points, to buy those ships. Many different strategies or variable paths to victory. One of my favorite games from that age, from the era of early 2000s. Laver still being there. So 44, 46, Laver. 45 is a relatively new game, dice placement game, Crystal Palace. This is another very interesting title, which is a dice placement title. However, you don't roll dice, you choose the values on the dice, and the sum of those values is the cost you have to pay. The higher the value, the higher the value of the dice, the more likely it is that you will take an action with that dice, and you will be the first on those action spaces or action boards, and you will be the first to take those actions. However, it comes with the cost. Fantastic. Again, another one where there's almost no luck in the game at all, and planning out these moves and turns and planning out the values on the dice. And again, different paths to victory. There is this bus track. There is You have to have some income in the game. You have to buy the tiles just to eliminate those negative points on your player board. So many things you can do in this game, so it's a bit overwhelming for some people, but I like the game a lot. 45, Crystal Palace. 44 is another no-luck game. You will see a lot of these, but it looks beautiful on the table, and it's photosynthesis. The game which simulates the growth of trees and the rotation of sun, and the way, or when the sun rotates around the game board, it casts a shadow, and the trees in front, the trees that receive this sunshine, the sunlight, they gain some energy, which is a resource in the game. Trees which are behind these trees, which are in the shadow, don't receive it. So beautiful strategic game. I love it. I love it a lot. Gets played a lot, or it was played a lot when we had these public gaming sessions every 2 weeks. Now we don't because of the pandemic obviously. But this was one of the. It looks really nice. It's beautiful presence. It has a beautiful presence on the table. Quite thinky. We love the game a lot. So photosynthesis, number 44. Number 43 is the city building game, which I think it's the only city building game here. Yeah, because it's I think it's the best city building game, Suburbia. I don't have the collector's edition. Looks beautiful, but I have the first edition with the expansions. I don't think yes, the second one looks more beautiful. However, this great mechanism of adding in every turn you add new and new tiles to your suburb, and you have to have the balance between the population and the income. When the income is low, you're not able to buy the tiles you want. Your population may even start decreasing. However, if you have high income and don't have because the population at the end of the game, the population of your suburb is your final score. And the higher the population, the faster the income goes down. So you still have, you constantly have to make sure that you have stable income, and you increase that income, but you also increase the population. Fantastic design. I love it a lot. Some people don't like the graphical design of the original version. I don't mind. It looks nice, in my opinion. The new one looks fantastic, but for me it was overly expensive, and I don't need to have the luxurious version if I still have the standard one. Mechanically works the same. So number 43, Suburbia. Now number 42 is a game I think I have never played. Looking at my collection there now, I have not played any other game more often than I played this one. Number 42, Azul. It's the game which I have played the most, not because I would love the game so much, but because it's so simple. I can teach this game anyone, even non-gamers, non-players. If anyone is interested in learning the game, non-gamers, players, people who have never played board games, Branislav, what is it? What is a Christmas present? What games can we start with? Azul is my answer. And I taught the game to many people. I showed it to a large audiences, and I have to say, at home, this is 15 for a 2-player game. It's usually 15 minutes game, very quick one, quick setup. So the most played game at home, the game which I have played the most, and I think that I still enjoy it. I have played it more than 200 times maybe. Still not tired of it. Not that I would be fascinated playing it after 200 times, but when we play it at home, I still enjoy the game. So that says a lot. 42, Azul. 41 is another kind of family type of game, but it's very thinky. It's Everdell. Now, I know there is a Kickstarter, or maybe just ended, for Everdell with all kinds of expansions. I have to say I like the base game itself. I like it a lot. I have friends who have played it so many times that they need expansions because they also almost play it automatically, and I have no chance of beating those friends. They know all these combos so well. Looks beautiful. Really can be played as a family game. I think you all know it. I like it a lot. I like some of the expansions. Some of them are, I think, adding things which I don't need to have there, and they just make the game longer. It's a fast engine building, kart engine building, and I like it as it is. I like the shorter versions of these kind of games, not 2-3 hour games, which is just an kart engine building. So number 41, Everdell. Number 40 is a new edition, a couple of months old, and it's a mix. It's a hybrid of worker placement, deck building, and area control, and it's Dune Imperium. In my perspective, it's primarily worker placement. It is restricted by the cards you have, the cards you draw, and the cards you play, obviously. But it's not that you play the card and you do something. You play the card, you place an agent somewhere, which is a worker placement moment. You may not place a worker without playing the card, but you may not play the card without placing an agent. So it's a combination. You have to play a card and place an agent. So that's why I say it's a worker placement. If you expect deck building, it's not really a deck building. It's a mix, and it's very tricky because there are not that many chances how to cycle the deck. It's not like the Minion where you cycle all the cards. No, you don't. You play 2 cards, maximum 3 cards per turn, because you only have 2 or 3 agents. And all those remaining cards in hand can be used to power up your army in the conflict area or to buy the cards. So very interesting mix. Different paths to victory. Again, there are these faction of the factions where you can gain the most victory or many victory points. You can gain points in the conflict area. You can gain points through the cards. Great mix. I personally like the game a lot. That's why number 40, Dune Imperium. Now, number 39 is a very new edition. I played the game mostly online before we did before I did my top 25 games of 2020, but we also did this list in Slovak language. The game finally arrived as a physical copy as well, and it's the Red Cathedral, number 39. I love the simplicity of this game. I love how that rondel works, how I gain resources just by moving the dice based on the value of the die, and if 2 or 3 dice are in the same space, I get those resources 2 or 3 times, so I multiplied it. However, my storage is limited, and it's all about area control. It's all about building this cathedral in Moscow. Great game, looks beautiful, simple rules, lots of depth in this game. I'm so impressed with this one. Red Cathedral, number 39. Number 38 is a deduction game. The game which I almost missed, and I remember seeing this game, I think it was 2018 in Essen. I was walking along this game many times and just ignored the game because it didn't caught my attention for some reason. But then I had a chance to play the game, not in Essen. I played the game when we came back. Because someone else bought the game, and I was blown away. It's scripted. It's a deduction game. Players are simply looking for a treasure hidden in the abstract land, and they get some hints, and they have to figure out based on those hints of various types. They have to figure out where that treasure is hidden, exact space on the game board where that treasure is hidden. Beautiful race. You see players eliminating their options, making notes, trying to figure it out, trying to find the treasure. It really reminds me as a race. We are somewhere, doesn't matter, really chasing to be the first one to uncover that treasure. Great deduction game. We usually play it several games in a row because it's fast, it's quick, we love it so much. So Cryptid, my number 38. Number 37 is a pure drafting game, card drafting game. It's a Wonderful World. This game, I love the drafting mechanism there. It's just pure drafting and creating the engine so that you can score the most victory points. You are gaining resources, buying or building additional cards and scoring the victory points based on certain conditions. But it's all about drafting the right cards. Why is it lower than I'm probably doing some spoiling here. I have another card drafting game which is higher. Why is It's a Wonderful World not so high? I don't feel any theme in this game. It's very dry. I love the mechanics, but I don't have any connection, any thematic connection. It's just dry. This one component is missing in the game because it's just pure drafting. It's nothing. I mean, that space type of theme doesn't speak to me at all. Otherwise, I love everything about this game. Everything. So many options. I can change my strategy in the middle of the game. I can trick my players. They hold the cards which they think I need, but I actually collect something else. We play the version. We like to play with cards that we draft face down in front of us, not face up. I know in the rules it says it has to be face up. We love to play the good old drafting way, face down. So players don't really know what I'm drafting. The reason is that those cards that I draft, they don't have any immediate effect. We collect those cards at the end of the round and then discard them for resources or place them in our tableau. So they don't have to be face up as they are in Seven Wonders. So that's why we keep them face down, and it adds additional strategic element to the game. So I love the game a lot. There's just no theme. That's why it's on my number 37. It's a Wonderful World. Now 36 is Seven Wonders, but Seven Wonders Duel / Unforgiven. I've just received the Unforgiven game and had a chance to play it. Feels very, very, very similar to Seven Wonders Duel. Uses almost the same mechanisms, which have slight changes. That's why I have both of these games here. I like Seven Wonders Duel. I like that how we draft the cards or choose the cards from that structure of cards in front of us, and how we gain resources and build cards. I love the game a lot, and both games have a strong theme, and it's a pure two-player game, quick one, simple rules, and they both seem to me equally good, and they're so similar mechanically. That's why I have both of them here. Seven Wonders Duel / Unforgiven. Number 35 is a beautiful game. Again, you will see a lot of games on my list which have simple rules but a lots of depth. Those are the games which I prefer a lot. And this is another one, 35, Onitama. The game with a very small game board. Each player has 5 pieces. One, I think it's a priest, and 4 apprentices, whatever they're called, that doesn't matter. And in each game there are 5 cards, and those cards determine how those pieces can move. And at every moment in the game, each player has 2 of those cards and 1 is in the middle. And as I play the card and move my piece, I have to move the card to the middle, and the other player is taking the other card which was there. So we are cycling these cards that determine how my pieces can move. And the goal is to capture, as in chess, to capture the enemy king, priest, whoever it is, so the major piece, or get to the starting space, to the temple of the other player. Very simple, very simple, very strategic, thinking about my card, which allows me to move in a certain way, but if I use that card, I actually give it to my opponent. Sometimes there are cards which allow me to jump 2 spaces ahead. Those are powerful cards, so if I use it now, how can my opponent use it? Beautiful, fast, super simple rules, lots of depth. Love this game. Onitama 35. 34 is again 2 games, but they are like the same game. The second one is some sort of the second version. It's a worker placement game, one of the best worker placements, but I have other worker placements here. It is one of my favorite mechanisms. It's Snowdonia / Alubari. Alubari is in my personal view just a Snowdonia 2.0. Those games have so much similar that I have them together in one place. Very simple worker placement. You have just 2 workers, you can get the third one, but with lots of depth, building the track, and at the same time, in Alubari you're building this tea plantages. In Snowdonia you're uncovering clearing the rubble. Very similar mechanisms, but the way how to gain resources, how to spend them, which cards to buy. There is this weather which changes some conditions, and you see that weather in advance. You can go and build track. You can go and do this plantage laying or clearing the rubble, getting those teas in Alubari. I like this game a lot, both of them. I really like both of them. I have a Snowdonia, this deluxe master set with all kinds of expansions with so much variability. We love that game a lot. Alubari is a little more friendly, I think, but still both of them together in same place. Number 34, this worker placement. 33 is a game which is, I think, the longest one of all the ones that I have over here, or at least one of the longest, one of the largest in terms of table presence, and it's Twilight Imperium 4th edition. We don't play this game as often as I would like to, and that's one of the reasons why it's on my number 33. It takes a lot of time to play, and I like it most with 4 players. With 6 players, I've seen very early in the game 2 players basically crushing the player between them, and it's a bad experience for that player. So this doesn't happen in a 4-player game. I like it much better. That's why I like it much better in 4. I know in 6 players there's more interaction, more things going on. Anyway, it's a long game. It has a lot of things in there. I don't like dice that much. I'm a Euro gamer. I don't like dice. I've seen cases where a single heroic infantry survived the attack of 3 infantry on a planet. Yes, it's an epic story, but it's a frustrating experience for the attacker, obviously. Anyway, this game has a lot to offer. I love it a lot, but it doesn't get to the table very often, and this dice rolling sometimes makes me frustrated. Anyway, love the game a lot. Twilight Imperium 4, number 33. Number 32 is I like to say it's 4 in 1, 4 games in 1. It's Root. From one of my favorite designers of all time, Cole Wehrle. We'll talk about him later as well. I love the graphic design, but I like this 4 different factions. We love to play with 4 players, or 3, but 4 is best. So that's why I'm saying four in one. 4 different factions. Each faction has their own set of rules. Each faction has their own way how to score victory points. It's actually pretty fast. I love the concept. I love the game. I hate explaining the game to new players because it's not explaining one game, it's explaining the basic rules and then the rules for each faction in the game. I hate that, and I'm the one explaining the game usually all the time. I hate explaining the game or reviewing the game when we meet together after a longer period of time and we don't remember how those factions are played, especially when we play the new factions from the expansions. I hate explaining it. I made videos in Slovak language, so we review them, but every video for every faction it's 6, 7, 8 minutes, sometimes 10 minutes. So again, 4 factions, 30 minutes just to explain those factions. That's the reason why it's 32. It's like playing 4 different games, and you have to know how those other factions play and how they score victory points. Otherwise, you can break the game. And that's another minus for me, that if there's one player who doesn't play optimally, that player is sort of a king making, because he helps unwantingly, but he helps one player maybe. Yeah, if it's not balanced, if the players don't know the game equally well, not the best experience. If they do, great experience. And if I don't have to explain the rules, even better experience. So 32, Root. 31 is a game from I had a name for this category of games, fireworks games. Number 31, Praga Caput Regni. Why do I call them fireworks? Just because you take an action and that action explodes into many small different mini moves, mini turns within the same action. It's Praga Caput Regni. It's those T games. Tekkenova, Tavantinsuyu, Trismegistus was a similar one. I just don't like the fact that I play one simple action, and that action has 7, 8 mini actions, mini turns within that action. When we play Praga Caput Regni, very often we remind the other player, or the player who is just taking the turn, hey, you can also do this. Oh, thank you. And by the way, you can score 2 victory points because you did this. Oh, just because there's so much happening within one turn. Praga Caput Regni has a fantastic design. I love that design. It seems to be well balanced. Recently we played a 2-player game. We scored both 132 points. I remember it so well because it was so tense, so close. But we both scored 132 points, but we both took completely different ways how to go through the game. Completely different strategies. When we played it in a 3 and a 4-player games, again we took different strategies, but the game score was very close. So it's well balanced. It looks beautiful. Those actions, those 6 basic actions, are very well connected with each other. I love all these things. It's just way too complex, complicated, and I really don't like that mechanism of playing simple action which just explodes into many turns. Difficult to plan ahead, difficult to even follow my own action. I may forget some of those mini turns or mini victory points which I score. That's why it's only number 31. However, I love the design. That's why it's still over there in 31 on my list. Quite contrary, number 30 is a game which is again simple with lots of depth, and it's the game which I have made the tutorial for very recently. I missed the game. It's a game from 2009 originally, but in 2021 there was a big box, Hansa Teutonica big box. There are 3 maps in the box. However, the rules are very simple. There are 4 or 5 simple actions in the game. Very simple actions, and there's no fireworks there. Very simple actions, and the players are trying to gain the most victory points, obviously. However, they score victory points based on where they place their stations. There are, again, several ways how to approach the game, several different strategies. The game can be very tense. It's very mean, but we have so much fun. We love to play this game so much. It's fast. Again, simple rules. Very, very simple rules. Lots of depth involved. Fantastic. So, contrary to Praga Caput-Regni, simple rules. And I will make another comparison to Praga Caput-Regni because we played one day recently. We played Praga Caput-Regni. We played Kanban electric vehicles from Vito Lacerda, and we felt like we worked. We had a hard work, like in a factory. Hard work, playing Prague and playing Kanban especially. We were exhausted. And then we played Hansa, 1 hour game, and we were relaxed and we had so much fun. So much more fun, especially compared to Kanban. So much more fun playing the game, not feeling exhausted from the hard work. So that's why I don't have Kanban on my list. I don't have any Vito Lacerda game on my list because they feel to me like a hard work, lots of work, and I don't get a lot of things done actually. Compared to Hansa, simple, quick, fast moves, lots of fun. So Hansa, number 30. Number 29 is a lovely, 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 beautiful game called Wingspan. It's not really a strategy. There is some luck of the draw, of course. Wingspan is a game which won a lot of prizes in 2019, I think, on BGG. Game of the year of many different categories. I don't really need to explain how Wingspan works, what this game is about. Again, it's a game which we can easily play with families, with non-gamers. Looks beautiful on the table, and although it's not really a strategic game, it is, but there is some luck involved. I love to play the game. It's a beautiful looking. It has beautiful table presence. Wingspan, number 29. 28 is a pure 3-player game. Very small, very simple. The king is dead, and I like the second edition the most. Pure 3-player game. I think it can be played with 2 or 4. No, for me it's a 3-player game. Fantastic 3-player game where you only have 8 moves. You have 8 cards, meaning 8 moves during the game. We are going in a clockwise direction, and on my turn I can either play the card or multiple cards of those 8 or pass. When I pass, it's not the end of the game for me, or not the end of the round. We just play consecutively until the game ends. So I can pass several rounds or several turns in a row, then play a card, or I can play 3 cards and then pass several times. So I only play 8 cards over the course of the game, and it's about area control and area control within area control. I need to have the most cubes from the color which rules the most regions on the game board. But if it rules the most regions, those dice are those cubes are quite scarce. So pure 3-player game, lots of fun, fantastic. We recently did a gameplay of Churchill, because Churchill, which is a game from 2015, was localized to Czech language, and I realized Churchill is another game for 3 players only. There are variations for 2 players. I don't consider them at all. It's a 3-player game. It's a long game. It's an epic game. It has some significant drawbacks. If people don't know the game equally well and they don't know all the strategies, it's highly disbalanced there. So comparing The King is Dead with Churchill, King is Dead for me is miles and miles and miles ahead of Churchill. Churchill is a great game under certain circumstances, which is not the case for King is Dead. King is Dead is really, again, very simple. here we are again, simple game, simple rules, and lots of depth, lots of strategy and mind games, and lots of fun. We just played it recently last week, 3 games, fantastic. In one game, 2 players were actually fighting for one region, and I think first 15 turns, if not 15, maybe 10, 12 turns, I did nothing, I just passed, and they were playing cards and fighting for one region and grabbing some cubes, but I was just looking. They spent 4 or 5 cards each out of those 8, and I was just looking at it. So much fun. Fantastic. I just love the game. Much better than Churchill. So pure 3-player game. King is Dead, number 28. Number 27 is another pure 2-player game. It's not 3, it's a 2-player game. Again, I have 2 games here because they're so similar. Twilight Struggle and Imperial Struggle. Twilight Struggle is an older game. There's just one die, which can make a difference sometimes. I love the game a lot. Imperial Struggle is way more complex. Both games can take 4, 5, 6 hours. The Imperial Struggle has this commodity markets, these war conflicts, so it's way more complex than the Twilight Struggle, but way more epic. We played the game already several times. What happens on this map of world, but what happens in the world is always an epic story. Phenomenal, but it's a struggle. I feel like not every region, but every space is on fire. It's a fantastic, beautiful struggle, but it's a long one, very exhausting one, long one, but epic. Every game remains in my mind for a long time, but they will not see play very often just because they're so long and so exhausting and only for 2 players. However, I love those games a lot, both of them. So Twilight, and I had many fantastic experiences with Twilight Struggle. Oh, geez, fantastic experiences. So 27, Twilight Struggle, Imperial Struggle. 26, very simple compared to Twilight and Imperial Struggle. The last game from the trilogy of the West Kingdom. This one is Viscounts of the West Kingdom. 26. I have the most. I like this one the most. I enjoy this one the most. Paladins are great design, very dry. For me, it's so dry. I will borrow a joke from the friend of mine from my gaming group. He said that it's so dry that this silica small packets that come with the games, even those would be dry in the game of Paladin. So that's why Paladin's not really my taste. Architects were good. I like Architects quite a lot. Not as much as Paladins in terms of the gameplay and the design, but Architects had some flavor, so not as dry. With Viscounts, I have so much fun. I have so much fun playing these cards. It's a little bit of a deck building, which is a great design that comes from the Paladins. But I take the card, that card goes through my game board. It gives me some symbols which determine what actions. I can take any action, but the more symbols I have of a specific action, the more powerful that action can be. So this is great. Again, 3 major different ways how to score victory points. This manuscript transcribing this castle and building the buildings. Beautiful comboing options. Great. I have really the most fun of all those 3 games with Viscounts. Again, quite simple rules, not really that much difficult, but great experience. So 26 Viscounts. So that's half of the list. Now going to 25 is it's a game similar to Viscounts. Looks beautiful. It also has some worker placement, some deck building. Lost Ruins of Arnak. Another family type of game could be, I could say, looks beautiful. Again, simple rules, not that difficult. It's not really simple, but maybe medium weight. But I have the worker placement. I have those two archaeologists. They give me some resources. I like how they go to more distant sites for which I need to have the cards, which give me the symbols. Those higher level sites are obviously more powerful. They give me more resources. There are these mystical creatures there, which I can not really kill. I can grab them into my reserve. I don't remember that English term. Then there is this research track for which I need those resources. So I need to think ahead how to combine resources, how to get resources for what I need, which way I want to move on this research track. You actually have to do both things. You can do both things. You can use those two archaeologists. Then you have some cards in hand. Play those cards. You can buy some artifacts and items, which may also help. I just like the game. It's so nice, so smooth, so pleasant, beautiful. It's beautiful, beautiful, pleasant, smooth, nice looking game. Top 25 definitely for me. So Lost Ruins of Arnak. Number 24 is a game which I completely missed in 2020, in last year, on a Kickstarter. And not just that I missed the game, I have consciously ignored the game. Shame on me. I looked at the Kickstarter and I passed the Kickstarter like, oh, meh, no, not really interested in that kind of game. Not in that kind, but in that particular game. And then a friend of mine brought the game, a friend from the gaming group. He bought the game in retail a few weeks ago, Pacific Rails. When we played the game, I was blown away, and I was like, how could I miss that Kickstarter? It's so fantastic. There's a worker placement and worker displacement mechanism in the game. There are action spots, and players don't place their workers on the action spots, but around them on the lines. You can multiply the action or make it more powerful, or take the action more times if you have more workers around the same action. And if you take the worker away, that's your turn. You can take the worker away. Next turn you can place it elsewhere. So even when you take it away, you take that action. Great mechanism. Essentially, we are building together. We're building the track, railway track on the map, and try to connect east and west. And for that, those are victory points for how many stations we build, etc. But this worker placement and displacement mechanism, the tension that it creates, phenomenal. I love the game. Pacific Rails number 24. Another game which came in 2021, actually, at least to Europe, is Beyond the Sun. One of the very few games which are thematically about building the technology tree. This one is about spacefaring, 22nd, 3rd century, something like that. But players are we have the bunch of cubes, and those cubes are multi-purpose cubes. Those cubes are first as the supply crates, and then we turn these supplies into our into people or spaceships, or when we have a person, we can make it into a spaceship with the pilot. So there is this game board of all the game board of the technology tree, and there's another smaller game board which is the space around Earth, and there are planetary systems which we can colonize. So we use the technology to move our spaceships and give them some special abilities, and especially flying to those systems and colonizing, which also yields victory point. This technological tree creates unique special abilities for every single player, and it's not that it creates the technology, it's the players create the special abilities. We are whenever I reach the next level, I can choose from two cards from two technologies which one I want to develop, and I'm developing a specific branch of this technology tree. Other players can develop the same one. They can follow me, or they can create their own one. So essentially, we are creating special abilities which only I can use. Great, fantastic. This tree is always different. At the end of each game, it looks different. Sometimes we go for the technology tree, don't fly that much. In other games, players can win with just a few technologies developed by focusing heavily on colonizing the systems around. Very well balanced, great design, love the game so much. Beyond the Sun, number 23. My number 22 is a game from the families of games, or from the family of games which I have never played before until last August, I think, when I played Pax Pamir. So this is the game from the family of PAX games. My understanding was that these PAX games are very difficult to learn, difficult to play, difficult to explain, and they're only for a very few enthusiasts. Until I played Pax Pamir last year. I will talk about it. I'm spoiling a little bit. I will talk about Pax Pamir later. And my number 22, Pax Renaissance, is a game which I obviously tried after playing Pax Pamir. So I love Pax Renaissance as well a lot. Yes, it is difficult to explain. It's difficult to understand. It's difficult to wrap my head around that game. But once I do, it's a great experience. Fantastic experience. Quick game, highly strategic. I can hide my plans for a long time. It's a challenge to see the plans of my opponents. What do they actually do? As we uncover the various ways how we can win the game, yes, it gets a little bit more clear, and then it's about how to make me how to find a way how to win the game, how to stop other players from winning the game the way they obviously want to win the game. Beautiful, phenomenal. Pax Renaissance. The only reason why it's only 22, it's still very high. Why it's 22 is that some of those rules are maybe they want to be very realistic. I know Phil Eklund designs his game to be as a very realistic mirror of the history and historical events. And I think some of those rules are just way too complicated, or it's unnecessarily complicated. And even when I played my 5th, 6th, 7th game, I still have some player aid because I don't remember that. I don't need any player aid with Pax Pamir. With Pax Renaissance, I still do need the player aid. That's why it's a little lower. It's number 22. Now, number 21 is a how to describe this one? It's a political war game about making money from the countries. It's Imperial 2030, Imperial 2030. Imperial 2030 has a new map, which seems to be a little more balanced than the original one. However, I like to play the original one. It's a challenge to take the Germany, the shares of Germany, and succeed with it. I think there is a way. Yeah, it's still a challenge for me. Anyway, we had so much fun playing this game, especially with higher player counts, because it's not about taking a country and make the country great. It's about how to spread my portfolio and how to figure out which country will be the most successful, which country will rise to the highest on this tracks, and actually which country will have the most expensive shares, or basically the shares of which country will yield the most money. And it's about timing. It's about guessing what other players are trying to do. Sometimes a country which is ahead will get decimated, so those shares may be worth very little, and the country which is slightly behind, suddenly jumps ahead. Great. Again, epic stories that come from this game, from we playing it, and a little bit of role playing. Great experiences every time we play this one. especially with higher player counts. Great one. Imperial or Imperial 2030. Number 20 is another political game, however, only for 2 players. Very short one, 1 hour, Watergate. Shorter version of Twilight Struggle, Imperial Struggle. Works beautifully. I played this game many times. Always very close games. Lots of tension in the game. Really, it's a Twilight Struggle or Imperial Struggle condensed into a small game board. 1 hour. Great one. One of the best 2-player games I've ever played. Number 19, Marco Polo, and I have the 2nd edition here. I like both editions. I like the 2nd edition, which some people call 1.5. I like the 2nd one slightly better. Dice placement, very nice, very pleasant, beautiful, easy to play. I mean, yeah, easy rules, but it's very nice to play. I really enjoy playing this game a lot. So many opportunities, so many options. It's about how to maximize those options, how to maximize victory points from these options. Loving the game a lot. It's been even localized. I'm looking at it. It's been localized into Czech language, so like it a lot. Marco Polo 2. And number 18 is another beautifully looking, simple game with surprising amount of depth. The game which I had no expectations. I bought the game on a Kickstarter just because it looked beautiful. Parks. But when we played the game, I was so impressed. It's so simple. It can be played in a 3 or 4 player games. We had some players with paralysis analysis, and it took about 2 hours, the full game. But those were players with heavy analysis paralysis problem. But the game looks so beautiful. Simple rules. There is depth in the game. Beautiful components. This is beautiful components, beautiful production. Now I have the expansion obviously as well. Loving the game so much. Such a small game, simple game. Number 18 on my list of most favorite games of all time. Parks and the expansion as well. Number 17 is another game with simple rules but lots of depth, and it's from Tom Lehman, Res Arcana, which is just a card game. Each player gets 8 cards at the start of the game, and those are the cards that player will use for the rest of the game. And playing the cards out, using the abilities on the cards, cycling for resources, gaining resources, spending resources for other. There's like a major cards, goal cards in the middle of the table, and scoring points. It's a race to 10 victory points. But the way so many comboing options, the basic deck has I think 40-50 cards, but you only get 8, and every time those 8 cards are different. So how you create this working combination from these 8 cards? You don't draw more cards, you don't discard cards. It's just 8 cards in your hand, and you cycle them. Some of them are on the table in your tableau. Which ones to play? Which ones to cycle? Phenomenal. Loving this game. Simple concept, beautiful. Heads down to Tom Lehman, Res Arcana, my number 17. Number 16 is the second card drafting game. The first one was It's a Wonderful World. Number 16, Seven Wonders, obviously. Very similar to It's a Wonderful World, or vice versa. It's a Wonderful World is very similar to the Seven Wonders. But this one has some theme, not a strong one, but it has some theme, civilization theme. I personally love colors. I love colors. That's just that's me. I love colors. When I work in a corporation, and I remember maybe 10 years ago, there was one moment in my career, in my life, when I was sitting in a meeting room with 15 something, doesn't matter, senior managers, and I realized we're all sitting there in gray suits with light blue shirts, we were all the same, like an army, like uniforms, all the same. And I got sick of it. Since then, I bought colorful shirts, colorful trousers. Not crazy, but I just bought colorful things and just love colors. So Seven Wonders has the colorful cards. If that's the theme for me, maybe it is. I don't know. But Seven Wonders, fantastic, great drafting game. I played it maybe over 100 times. I had a copy which was worn out completely. There was the anniversary edition now, which the local publisher sent me as the anniversary edition. I did the tutorial, so I have the new copy now, which will get played again more and more and more times because we love this game so much. Easy, simple rules, lots of variability, lots of depth. Seven Wonders, love the game. Number 15 is another game which is quite old, but for me it's an evergreen. It's Power Grid. Game which is about building the networks of electricity plants and supplying houses or cities with electricity. There is a bidding mechanism which I'm not that huge fan of, but it's fine. But this market of resources, this catch-up mechanism that the player who is the last in the current scoring takes or gets to buy the resources first, and obviously the more resources there are, they're cheaper. The more resources are bought, they get more expensive. So the player who is in the lead gets to buy the resources last. They are expensive, so kind of a great balancing mechanism. Sometimes I intentionally want to be behind in victory points or money just to be able to buy the resources cheaper. Great, fantastic. I played this game online a lot. I remember we played it in one period of time. We played it maybe 30-40 times online. We played it a lot also physically. Still have the game. Power Grid number 15 and number 14 is another game which we played a lot, and we played it also a lot on the board game arena. Keyflower. I'm not the biggest fan of the bidding mechanism, but here it's just a brilliant one. It works so brilliantly. We're bidding on the tiles. We are creating our own village, and we have the workers. And I think this was the first game where worker colors didn't belong to players. Worker colors were just, I think, different nationalities. It doesn't really matter, but it's not that the yellow colors are mine, blue are yours. No, but when I used a specific color of workers on a tile, every other player could only use that color on that tile, and not just on bidding, but when we use those pieces or those workers as the workers to take actions on those tiles. And I can take action even on the tile of the opponent, but I'm actually giving that worker to that opponent because it will be in his village and he will keep it. But in order to take the action, he needs to place 2 now. Fantastic mechanism in this game. We play this game so much. We also bought the expansion, which I think wasn't that necessary. It's fine, but I like the base game as it is. Great. Keyflower number 14. Number 13 is a game which is a new, rather new to the. It's not just to the list, but it's a new game, which again I missed somehow in 2020. But as soon as I've learned about a game, I ordered the game, and when we played it, I was fascinated, and I instantly knew that it's going to be top 5 of 2020. It was actually top 3, and it's going to be, if not top 10, then top 20 of all times for me. It's Merv. It does similar things as Praga Kapudregni, as Tekenu or Tavantinsuyu. There are 6 simple actions you can take, but those actions are simple. Over the course of the game, you can make the actions more powerful just by spending more resources, but you get, for example, if I exchange resources for scrolls, I just get more scrolls. It's not the fireworks engine, so it's not a simple action which explodes into many different mini turns. This one is really simple, 6 simple actions. Now, there's this city, the square city, where we build our buildings, and the interaction in that city and activating the buildings of the same color in one street, I can build a powerful street with my buildings, which can be easily used by other players. I will get something, but building one street of the same color, of the color of my buildings, doesn't mean that it's me using those buildings and it will be mine street. No, other players can easily use it as well and prevent me from using it. Great, fantastic interaction in the city. Then 6 simple actions. I love the fact that in order to score victory points, I have to take one of the actions to place one of my meeple into a scoring position, which takes resources. Other players have to react to that. It's highly interactive. Fantastic. I love this one so much. Played it several times with 3 players, 4 players. Many different strategies to try. Loving it. Number 13, Myrrh. Number 12, Great Western Trail. I have to say, with expansions, even the base game is great, but with expansions, this one gets even better. At first, I didn't know how to handle this game really well, but then when I saw, not just from the rules, but when I finally tried to try to move on the railway track as far as possible, I managed to reach the end of the track then easily, and when I finally wrapped my head around that, phenomenal. I love the game every time we play it. It's this now. Some people call it rondel. Maybe it's a rondel, maybe it's a time track, but you travel from one end of the game board to the other end, having the cards in hand, using the buildings, activating buildings, taking the actions, and again, different ways to victory. You can get victory points from calls. You can get victory points from the railway track. There are other ways of getting victory points. There are goal cards. Every time you can do different things. Every time you can build different buildings. Great combinations. I really. This is one of the most interesting designs for me. I don't have the game personally, but the friends of mine have everything with the expansions, so every time we want to play it, I call them and we play it with expansions, which even adds more strategy to the game. Great Western Trail, number 12. Now, number 11 is another worker placement. It's not the top one. Number 11 is another old game, Agricola. I have played this game over 100 times minimum, just because this was it was the best game that we have played for several years. Every time we tried a new game back in 2004, 5, 6, we always played at least one game of Agricola, at least one, during our gaming sessions, and we played almost every week, and we played it many times, and we came back to Agricola maybe 2 months ago, and I enjoyed it. I still enjoyed it so much. So many things to do in this game. So much tension. It's very tight. Just make a bad move, bad timing, your strategy can fall apart. You have to think about what other players are doing. High interaction, lots of interaction in the game. Fantastic design. The need to feed the people. I know some people hated it. I know some people like Caverna a lot more. For me, Caverna and recently Hallertau are games which are very easy to play compared to Agricola. I love Agricola just because there's so much tension in that game, and it has to be played strategically and tactically well. In Caverna, I can make mistakes and still do pretty well. In Agricola, no. So, number 11, Agricola. Number 10, another game from Tom Lehman, one of my favorites, if not the favorite, probably. Anyway, Tom Lehman, Race for the Galaxy. The game design, which I have never seen that before. I've seen that afterwards. The cards work as the payments. You pay with the cards. The cards are in your tableau as developments and planets. The cards are goods on those planets. Difficult to teach this game, but phenomenal to play. So many combinations, so many strategies. It's about building the combos. It's about I love the fact that I choose the action and every player does the action. If I choose the action, I get some bonus. Strategically looking at what people are trying to play so that I can play the action which benefits me the most and not really benefiting them, or trying to see what they're going to play so that I can piggyback on their actions. Great. I love first, second expansions, not the other ones so much. We don't play that game very often now, because the deck of cards it was so big that it's difficult to shuffle, and we played it again. Another one which I played maybe over 100 times. So we've seen a lot. We like it a lot, but we have another card game which we prefer, and I will talk about it very, very shortly, in a short time. So number 10, Race for the Galaxy. Number 9 is, I think, finally my last worker placement game, and it's the best one. I think that the best one, at least in my opinion, Viticulture. Viticulture Essential Edition with Tuscany Essential Edition. This particular combination. Viticulture has been modified several times until we got to the last one. I didn't have Viticulture in my last list because I somehow I didn't play the last version with the last player board and last changes. It finally clicked for me so much that we played it several times in a row, and it just instantly skyrocketed for me to number 9 of all times. I finally got the physical copies. It's not out of, it's being reprinted, but I managed to find both the base game and the expansion. The way that you play those workers in those 4 seasons, highly thematic game. You need to plan ahead. You need to see what other players are going to do. It is interactive. It's so variable with so many different cards, so many different things you can do. I'm really loving the game. The more and more I play it, the more I love it. It may even move up on my list. We'll see when we play it more and more physically, because we also played it online recently because of the situation. But I'm loving it even more than Agricola, which was my best worker placement for many years. So Viticulture, number 9. Number 8 is a game which doesn't look so nice. However, the game mechanism is a brilliant one, and it's Concordia. Back to simple rules, but lots of depth in this game. You play cards, each card is an action. One of the cards is the action that takes the cards back into your hand. You use these cards to move on the map, to establish the trading posts in the cities. You need to collect cards. Based on the cards you collect, you score victory points. So it's not about what happens on the map. The map is just the map is usually for generating resources, generating your income. You will score, obviously, you will score how you do on the map, but you will also score how many cards of a specific type you have. So again, you based on the cards you manage to collect over the course of the game, you have to adjust your strategy, what you do on the map, how you do there, and it's the final score is usually the combination of various areas. Great, fantastic, phenomenal. I have the Venus expansion. I'm not a huge fan of a team play, but having more maps is always good. Concordia, number 8. Yeah, as I always say, almost in every game, loving the game. This one we have played. There was a period of time when we played this game so much, and we explored different strategies, still not having enough. So when I saw Venus expansion, I was delighted. So number 8, Concordia. Number 7 is a game which surprisingly didn't really sell well, at least in our area, in Slovakia, Czech Republic. But a game, again, which I played many times. Racing game, although the racing is a very brave expression. Lewis and Clark, where these expeditions are coming from one side of the map to the other side of the map. There's a basic track, lots, long river, then some mountains. Players have cards. Those cards work as the action and also as the multiplier of the action. You can also gain meeples from the game board, which adds to the multiplication of the action. It's a little bit of the deck building, get the resources, but the main mechanism is making sure that you have the resources to activate the cards which will move your expedition. Moving the expedition on the river is quite easy. Going through the mountains is a huge challenge. So you need the cards, you need the way how to get through those mountains, and that's how you build the deck from the very start of the game. Sometimes you can go very quickly through the river and then struggle in the mountains. You can struggle on the river, but then have great cards to move through the mountains because other players will stop there, will be stuck there for a long time. We've had games where I managed to go down to 6 cards only and rotate 3 pairs of cards and go through. I was quite behind, but then just rotated these 3 pairs of cards and went very quickly to the end of the track. So many strategic options, so many tactical possibilities in this game, so many different cards, how you can activate those cards, how you can combine those cards, how you can trash the cards. Great, phenomenal. Lewis and Clark, number 7, it will be there and it will stay there for a long time. Number 7, Lewis and Clark. Now, number 6, finally coming to the top of the list. Number 6 is the big grandiose game, Gloomhaven. I love to play this one solo. It's more challenging for me to play it as a solo because it's just me trying to figure out how to most efficiently go through this dungeon. When playing with 2 or 3 players, yes, it's fun, but it can also be frustrating when you have a brute who is hiding behind and trying to cure others, which doesn't make sense. But yeah, so that's why I prefer to playing it solo. I have not completed it yet, and the only thing which I really don't like about Gloomhaven is this long setup. Even with the insert, the setup is just way too long, but the gameplay is fantastic. I've never seen anything like that. It's a game for many hours, and I would like to finish that game. I know there are there's Frosthaven coming. I know there is the Jaws of the Lion. I like the Gloomhaven. I like that epicness of the Gloomhaven itself. I like sticking those places on the adventure map. There's just not so much time to play all these games and all these scenarios, but maybe one day I will finish it. But number 6, so high, number 6, Gloomhaven. Now, coming to top 5, Looking at these top 5 games, I can say one thing that they have in common, and that's high player interaction. Strategic, no luck, high player interaction. That's what I love in those games. Number 5, Barrage. When I said Viticulture is the highest worker placement, maybe that's not 100% correct. Barrage is a worker placement. You have worker placement. You have workers. You place them on various spots. But Viticulture is literally a worker placement. There's nothing else. In Barrage, you're building these electric plants and basins and all these structures on the map. It's me placing these structures on the map, trying to get the water away from my opponent, paying slightly more resources, but being the first one, and building my electric plants there, electricity plants. This is such a brilliant design, that the water as a resource is not lost when used for generating electricity. It's not lost. It just flows further. Manipulating how this water flows, anticipating where it is going to, building these structures, the plants and turbines in the strategic places. I love this game so much. It's usually up to 3 hours for us, but we don't mind it all. It's a brain burner, but it's a phenomenal. So much thematic, so much player interaction, not just on the worker placement spots, also on the map. Again, I need to see what other players want to do. Do they have the resources? Do they have people to do that? What is that they want to do? What objectives are they going for? Excellent, just an excellent one. Barrage didn't have a good Kickstarter campaign. We know about those issues. It slightly hurt the game on the Board Game Geek, but the game itself is just my top 5 of all time. Even with the expansion, I have to say this has to be with the expansion. The game was designed as the entire game together with the expansion. So many paths to victory, so much variability, so much depth in this game. Barrage, number 5. Number 4, Brass. Whether Lancashire or Birmingham, I have them both. I like them both equally well. I don't really have a preference. Some people prefer Birmingham. Lancashire for me is more of a gaming game, but not that many differences between these two games. The new versions look beautiful. Again, so much player interaction on the map. So many strategies. There is no dominant, at least I don't know that there will be dominant strategy. It's all about how I react to what other players are doing. It's like chess. There is no dominant strategy in chess. But I need to react to what other players are doing on the map. I need to spot the opportunities and slightly deviate from my plan just to use the opportunity that just emerged out there. The game has the various phases. At the start, we are building these industries. We need to build the links. Then we rush to score some of those buildings, especially some of the second level buildings, so that we can, in the second half of the game, we can start building our network from that space. Then in the second half, first trying to make sure we have these links. Then again, thinking about how to score victory points from our strategy. Great. The way the game flows, not bored any minute of the game. Love this one. Brass, number 4. Now, number 3 is a game which which is even more mean than Brass. It's Food Chain Magnate. Food Chain Magnate is a game which I remember the guys from Sparta Games saying if you cannot lose the game in the first round of the game or on the first turn, if you cannot lose the game on the first turn, there's no reason for that first turn to be in the game. So they have designed a game where you can actually, if with equal players, you can lose the game in the first turn if you do something stupid, which is not the case in many games, obviously. Here, highly thematic. You are just building your network, food chain, the food chain, small food chain restaurant. You're building your company. You're hiring people, which are cards, and these cards have actions. Some of the cards are managers, which are multiplier of actions. Fantastic design. It's so thematic. You have employees in your organizational structure that is obviously limited, so some people will not be working. Turn order is super important. There is a map of the city, the location of the restaurants, location of the drink suppliers, location of the houses. What are you going to do, or the employees you take are very important. Now, it's important what employees other players are hiring, because they can create these marketing campaigns near your houses, near your restaurant, and get the houses to their restaurants, and so much interaction. It's simple. Again, those rules are long, but very simple. You just hire people, you place your people in your org structure, and run their actions. Each employee does the action, and once all players do their actions, then houses will go out and eat and pay, and you have to gain the most money. Simple, very simple, but timing is important. Hiring right people at the right moment, anticipating what other people are going to do, which employees they're going to hire. Turn order, as I said, very important. Great, works fantastic in 2, 3, 4, 5 players. Food chain magnate number 3. Although some people say the graphics design is not really a graphics, it doesn't look good. It does not. However, it's very functional, and I think if it would be fancy, some of the important elements might get lost on the board. So food chain magnate number 3. Now, whatever I said about those about the graphic design fully applies to the next family of games, rather, what I have at my number 2, because I don't have one game here. It's difficult for me to state just one game, and it's a family of 18xx games. Train games in which players are investors trying to gain the most money, and they are investing in shares of the railway companies, and then those railway companies build tracks on the map, they build stations, they buy trains, they run the trains, gain revenue, and pay out to shareholders. Simple. Yes, some rules have 30 pages, just because it covers many different edge situations. But in a nutshell, this game is these games are very simple, but with so much depth and strategy and variability and replayability, that this is a family of games which I have never played before, and I only got to these games early this year, early 2021. I played 18 Chesapeake, which is my top game of 2020. And after Chesapeake, I played maybe 10 other different games of 18xx, many different times online. There's a fantastic application online, and I'm loving the system more and more. This game allows me to plan ahead. This game allows me to execute my strategic plan. Every time I make a mistake, I see an exact point in the game where I made the mistake, unlike in many other games where I don't know why I lost. Even looking at Brass, sometimes I don't know how the other player, where was the moment where I made a mistake, or how is it that he gained more money. In 18xx, I know exactly where I made a mistake, and every time I play a new game, I can be much better. I can all the following games are of a higher quality games, and I'm improving my play every single time. So this game allows me to see the strategic, those simple moves, to calculate them ahead, and to see how it's a puzzle how to get those strategic elements together and gain most money out of these operations. How to prevent other players from doing or from preventing me to gain those to make those plans happen and execute. Yeah, I'm fascinated with the system. I could be talking for hours and hours. It blew my mind recently. I thought that the games are highly complex, difficult to learn, similar to PAX games. No, it's not. It's actually very simple, but the strategic depth and this variability. I want to play this game over and over again and again. So 18XX family. If I would have to stay one game, maybe 1846. I love the 18 Chesapeake as well. I like 1861 Russian, but we could be talking about these games for a long time. I will probably make some special video just about this one to introduce the 18XX. And finally, my number one games of all time, the one which I love the most of everything. I've mentioned the game already. It's from the PAX family and it's PAX Premier 2nd edition. Again, Cole Wehrle. I have several games from Cole in my list. It was Root. It's PAX Premier. I will have another one. I can tell you right now. I will have another one called Oath. I played it online. I will do a tutorial for that one. I love John Company. I've just backed John Company 2nd edition. So Cole Wehrle, definitely maybe my most favorite designer. PAX Premier is a game which combines card play with the situation on the map, with several ways how to win, with the domination or with having the most tribes on the game board or outside of my game board, of my personal game board. We played the game at least 40 times by now, all of them live games, and I just can't get enough of this game. So many strategic options, highly interactive. I cannot leave the table for 30 seconds because I need to see everything with what's happening on the table. I need to see which cards my opponents are drawing or buying. I need to see where they move the army. I need to anticipate what they want to do. The dominance and not the dominance on the map. It's such a thin border between this various states or situations on the game board. I can. Some people said that they cannot hide their plans in this game, and then they realized they can hide them even better than in PAX Renaissance. We had games with which ended up after first scoring, after some unexpected move, clever move from someone who created and scored the dominance, and won the game after the first scoring. We've seen games that we played more than 2 hours, and we played to the very last card, and it was a tense fight towards the very end, very last move, with beautiful tactical maneuvers. It's about how to make my plans happen, how to prevent other players from making their plans happen, figuring out what they want to do, changing coalitions at unexpected times from players I would not expect them to do that, and changing the situation on the game board, sometimes creating small coalitions against the other player. The game works fantastically in 2-player, 3-player, 4-player, and also 5-player. Works great as a solo as well. I think that's enough. PAX Premier 2nd edition, my most favorite game of all time. Although I have to say, 18XX games are coming very, very close to PAX Premier 2nd edition. The only reason PAX Premier is the number one is the fact that PAX Premier, usually we can play the game within 1 hour and a half. sometimes shorter, sometimes slightly longer. Those 18xx games take slightly longer than that. Usually 3 hours is the minimum. So this is the only reason why PAX Premier 2nd edition is slightly ahead of 18xx, but both of these games are just phenomenal. If I would take 2 games with me somewhere to the Lone Island, PAX Premier and 18xx, and I wouldn't need anything else. So that's my top 50 games of all time, my most favorite games of all time. I would like to hear your opinions on that. As I said, the list will change. I can see it right now. I mentioned Oath, which is a game again from Cold Whirly. Type of a PAX game for me. Again, different strategies. I like that graphics. I just played it online several times. I would put it in here, but I had my list already completed, so I said no, I'm not going to put it in right now. But in November, it will definitely be on this list. Thank you very much for watching. Again, I would like I would love to hear your comments, your opinions, whether you have the same taste as I do. But these are the games which I love the most, and I love highly interactive games, games with simple rules and lots of depth, lots of depth, which means lots of variability, lots of replayability. And one last note. An honorable number 1 for me was, is, and will be always chess, which is the combination of everything what I said, simple rules, and I would say chess is maybe just 1 page of rules for the game itself, 1 page of rules with unlimited variability, unlimited replayability almost, and so much depth that maybe no other game has such depth as chess. I played chess competitively, not at a super high level, but in a reasonable competitive level. I don't anymore because it requires a lot of training and a lot of studying and a lot of practice. And I love many other board games, but chess would be my honorable number 1, always, just because of that simplicity and the depth and variability that comes from the simple set of rules there. And again, the setup is the same, setup doesn't change, yet those games are so different. Millions and millions and billions of games played are different. So that was my list. Again, thank you for watching. Looking forward to see you in November with my updated list of top 50 games of all time. And until that time, stay safe and enjoy gaming. So, goodbye.